The story of KOF 15 takes place right after 14th. The latter was the first chapter of what is commonly known as the Shunei Saga. It was also the first mainline game to make the transition into the third dimension. I already made a story explained video for that game, and I highly recommend to watch it first if you haven't already. Also, KOF 15 is supposed to be the last entry of this chapter. I'm not sure if that's true, since there are still some questions that are yet to be answered, especially concerning the final boss of the game. But if it is true, then that makes the Shunei Saga the shortest in the series, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on how much you loved its main protagonist. But one thing we can all agree on is that it's thanks to this saga that we got to see many fan favorite characters made their long awaited comeback. At least it has that for its merit. Before diving into the story of KOF 15, as always, if you like this content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe and click the bell icon so you can be notified with every new video posted. It didn't take long before a new King of Fighters tournament to be announced. This new edition is sponsored by a new and mysterious figure named Anastasia, who replaced the former host and self-declared champion Antonov. Invites were sent as usual to the world's strongest fighters, even to some of those who were just recently resurrected. They were imprisoned within Verse, the creature that appeared at the climax of the previous competition, and were freed and brought back to life when it was destroyed. Among these returning souls were the three Heavenly Kings of Orochi, more commonly known as the Orochi team. Unlike during their last participation, they know exactly who they really are now and what their role is. But for some reason, they had no intention on working on the resurrection of Orochi just yet. They entered KOF 15 most likely because Yashiro is still holding his old grudge against Iori, who is a regular participant in the tourney. Indeed, the heir of the Yagami clan was going to be present in KOF 15 as usual, though not with his regular teammates Vice and Mature. This time he joined his all-time nemesis Kyo Kusanagi and the protector of the Orochi seal Shizuru Kagura. The latter sensed that something was interfering with the seal and that it's most likely tied to the recently announced tournament. She asked the help of the heirs of the other two clans, who reluctantly accepted to put their rivalry aside and form the Sacred Treasures team. Shortly after he accepted Chizuru's request, Kyo received another task from his father this time. Kyo was supposed to replace Tang Furu and assist his students Shunei and Meiten-kun during the competition. Since he had got his hands full already, he solicited the help of his ever-reliable friend Benimaru to take care of the matter in his place. Feeling indebted to the foul-mouthed Sandman after he helped them in the past KOF, Ash and Elizabeth chose to follow Kukri to the newly announced tournament. Kukri decided to join it the moment he learned that a certain figure was participating in it. That figure was his recently resurrected mentor, Dolores. She was like a mother figure to him, who raised and took care of him in the past. When he awakened his scent powers for the first time, Kukri was overwhelmed by its power and couldn't control it. Things could have gone very bad for him and the village he was in if Dolores didn't intervene to save him, but in the process she gave up her life. Since then, he was looking for a mean to bring her back to life and was aware that her soul was trapped within Verse. Now that she's alive again, he knew that she was most likely involved with something dangerous and he needed to talk to her. Dolores was in fact working with the commander of the Ikari warriors, Hydern. She willingly offered her help as she knew that Verse, or by its actual name, Reverse, will show up again during the tournament. She also knew that this creature is attracted to people called Amplified Spectres, people who have the mysterious power of conjuring strong phantom hands like Shunei. Hydern's Intel division managed to locate another Amplified Spectre, a teenager named Isla. This young girl grew up in a cold and caring orphanage after being abandoned by her parents, spooked by her strange inexplicable powers. Isla had run away from the orphanage a few years ago and spent her time between part-time jobs and her favorite passion, graffiti. Hydern and Dolores went to her and asked her to join them in KOF. Isla refused at first, but when she learned that Shunei was going to be there too, she accepted. It appeared that she had a deep hatred for the young boy. Isla didn't hate Shunei, she was simply jealous of him. They were very similar, but unlike her, Shunei had grown-ups who loved and took care of him. With Isla secured, Hayden ordered Ralph, Clark and Leona to enter the tournament as well to keep a close eye on the other Amplified Spectre. They were to subdue him in case he goes berserk. After all, Ralph and Clark had plenty of experience dealing with people who can't control their powers. Their other task was to help eliminating Reavers when it appears. Even after he lost his champion title and with it, Antonov refused to give up. He decided to reclaim his title back by entering KOF as a regular participant in a team with Ramon and King of Dinosaurs. After she had an argument with Kadash, Kula ran away from home and didn't come back. Kadash and Maxima learned from Whip that Kula was kidnapped by a mysterious individual. More curious was the fact that no ransom was demanded. Their only lead was that shady figure will be in KOF. The mysterious person in question was none other than K49, naming himself Cronin. Joined by his old friend Angel, he wanted to settle scores with his all-time rival Kadash during the competition, and Kula was the bait to bring him there. Kula wasn't actually kidnapped. She surely didn't behave as a damsel in distress. She was just too upset to go back home and decided to tag along with Cronin and Angel for some time, even though she still hated Angel more than ever. Blue Mary was in the middle of investigating the Howard connection and its new member Hein. She was curious about what was between him and the mysterious Luong, as she was aware of their secret meeting. Her old friend Vanessa met her and asked her to join her in the next tournament. To Mary's big surprise, their third teammate was none other than Luong herself. Vanessa told Mary that Luong had info about the Howard connection and that she was willing to share it with her after the tourney, while Vanessa's own objective was to investigate Isla. As for Luong, she entered the competition simply for the fun. She enjoyed her time during the last KOF, but since Gang Il and Kim were busy training, she was forced to find new teammates, and Mary and Vanessa were just as perfect as trustworthy. Of course, none of them believed her and knew she had more serious motives. The truth was, Luong was hired by Hein to steal something from another participant. That something was the necklace, or more specifically its purple gem that Dolores possesses. According to Hein, that gem, called the Sage's Eye, had great power, and he had the intention to use that power to take down Geese, which was hinted at previously. Hein was never loyal to Geese and had his own agenda. Not sure if Geese is aware of that though. Maybe he is, and that's why he chose to bring a more honest, reliable, and trustworthy member to his team instead of Hein.
Time to style them with a climax!
During the tournament, Kukri met his resurrected master. We learned that he wanted to stop her because he was afraid that she might get herself killed. He just didn't want to lose her again. Dolores though was too determined to back off at that point. Kukri's teammate, Ash, had made less dramatic encounters, especially against Iori and Chizuru, who would have tear him to shreds for what he did to them in the past, if they hadn't forget everything about it, fortunately for Ash. It was the hero and rival teams that made it to the finals. Shunei's team came out triumphant from the battle, because Benimaru is in it obviously, and were declared the champions. However, before they could celebrate, something strange started happening to Isla. Her powers were drained and she lost consciousness. Just like Dolores had foretold, Reavers appeared again, and they're in new form. The monster teleported the fighters into another dimension, preventing eventual casualties among the spectators like the last time, which was pretty thoughtful of it if you think about it. Shun'ei felt that he was about to go berserk again, but managed to control himself. And while Hyden and Dolores were taking care of Isla, he and his two teammates challenged Reverse and vanquished it. Yet the nightmare was far from over. Something even Dolores didn't expect happened. The arena crystallized and a hole through time and space opened. From it, a fearsome-looking being emerged. That creature was called Otomaraga, and according to Dolores, she is a deity behind all creation that exists in a separate plane beyond time and space, a complete void where she tries to escape from since immemorial times. Her true intentions were unclear, but they were not very difficult to guess, since Reverse represented her will, and the one thing that creature was repeating tirelessly was destroy everything. So yeah, Otomaraga wanted to destroy everything. Which is ironic, since she was referred to as goddess of creation and truth. Vanessa had the same thought as well. Reverse's ability of absorbing the life and soul of living things was aimed to gather enough energy to open that interdimensional gate from where she could escape. Shun'ei, Benimaru, and Mei Tenku stood in her way, and a fight against the otherworldly being began. Thanks to their combined forces and to the thickness of their plot armor, the hero team succeeded in defeating Otomaraga. She was sent back to the void where she came from, but in a last-ditch effort, she tried to drag Isla with her. Shun'ei jumped to save her, and he did, but not without the help of Amanda, Isla's phantom hands. Back to the real world, they were finally able to celebrate their victory. Everyone was happy that the threat was eliminated and the danger was avoided, but most importantly, that Shun'ei had finally took off his silly headphones. That's character growth, I guess. Chizuru and her two companions were relieved when they checked the Orochi seal after the tournament and found that it was intact. That meant that the truce between Kyo and Iori had come to an end, and that they could finally resume their usual and pointless hostility against each other. Chizuru didn't even try to stop them. She gave up reasoning with them at this point. In a surprising turn of events, Cronin contacted Kula's former overseers, Foxy and Diana, and handed Kula to them without any sort of condition. He just wanted to fight Kaidash, and now that it was done, there was no reason to keep her in the team. He surely had matured quite a bit during his long absence. Even Angel was surprised by his change. The two decided to go for a world tour, but not before he sent a message to Kaidash and his team, telling them where they could find Kula. Kaidash's team, thinking that Kula was still kidnapped and that it was certainly a trap, were ready for a big fight, but they calmed down when they found Kula just enjoying an ice cream with her two sister figures. Somehow, Luong managed to steal the gem from Dolores' necklace during the ruckus made by the appearance of Reverse and Otomaraga. However, that didn't go unnoticed by her two friends. Luong finally confessed to both Mary and Vanessa that she was hard by Hein and that he wanted the gem to beat Geese. She also kept her promise to Mary and gave her all the data she was looking for concerning the Howard connection. But she kept the gem to herself and jumped from the bridge they were standing on. Hein was already waiting for her on a jet ski and the two escaped. But the real gem was actually in Mary and Vanessa's possession. They had already switched it with a fake one which Luong had when she escaped. It's not sure if she noticed it or not. What is sure is that Hein is going to be very disappointed by Luong's job. During their report to their commander, the Ikari team learned that an individual with a description matching that of Leona's father, Gaidel, was spotted. Immediately, they were dispatched to confirm if it was indeed the long-deceased Hakusho member or not. Their mission complete, Dolores and Isla were thanked by Hyden for their priceless help during KOF. Dolores was finally able to return to her homeland with her son figure Kukri. As for Isla, after she refused the offer to join the Ikari warriors, she was escorted to an airport where she could take a flight home. But before that, she asked the pilot if he could make a detour to China first. Obviously, she wanted to see Shun'ei, who, after his triumphant return with his teammates, learned his true past from Tang. He wasn't an orphan like he thought. His parents entrusted him to the master after he started exhibiting his strange powers. They were scared and didn't know how to deal with him. But even after learning that his parents were probably still alive, he decided to leave Tang and his country. Shun'ei wanted to explore the world in a quest of self-discovery with his best friend Mei Ten. That also means that he probably won't meet Isla, who's coming to China specifically to visit him. What a loser. And that was KOF 15 Story Explained. I didn't mention the sub-stories of the other teams, like the Fated Fury, Art of Fighting or Superheroines. Their stories are rarely relevant to the main plot in all the installments of the series, and KOF 15 is no exception. But they're still fun to watch and have some cool twists. Special thanks to my patrons for their generous support. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and why not consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.